Hello, my friends. How are you? So, here we are again, continuing our conversation on the only obsession I have these days, which is unraveling the experience of everyday reality and figuring out how to deconstruct it, how it was constructed in the first place, and then how to reconstruct it and revise it. Because what I'm saying here, and I've said previously, is that all reality is subject to revision. So if you want me to talk about this and you are indulgent enough for some repetition and redundancy, then let me know. Not all of it, but some. Obviously we have to build up on the past dialogues and conversations to expand our awareness and to expand our insights into the nature of reality. So if you like this idea, please press the like button, invite your friends, and send me your feedback, and also any criticisms or any other reflections. Any feedback is welcome. So Voshtek is saying metahuman is great. I'm reading it. Thank you, Voshtek. Rubina says this is a good idea. Sylvia says good morning. Pat says hi. Lily says hello. Monica says buenos dias. And Voshek says hello from Prague. So all good. Shall we continue on this topic of how reality is subject to revision and how we can participate in the understanding of the construction of everyday reality, how we can participate, if we want to, in its deconstruction, and how we can revise it, okay? So if you think this is a good idea, please let me know. You're all saying good morning and hello and sending me love, but would you like to participate in this conversation about how do we revise everyday reality? I'm waiting for you to say yes. And Alison says, how do we revise our reality in the midst of survival needs? Well, we can talk about that as well. Okay, we can talk about that. So, shall we start? Are we ready? I think we can start, although right now we're only 600 people here, and I always like to wait till there are about 1,000 so we can create the space of awareness where we can download our collective intelligence in a way. So even if I speak to you as an individual, I am always downloading collective intelligence, cultural intelligence, and ultimately going beyond that, hopefully, to where the source of all intelligence exists. So I think we're ready. Okay, we're ready. We're about 700 people here. I think that's good enough space of awareness in which to tap into our collective realizations. Okay? Hi Shraddha, hi Chris, hi John, and hi Rana. I'm starting now. Okay, so let's talk about language. According to deep historians, Homo sapiens, which is we, are the only species, as far as we know, on our planet that is capable of inventing and telling stories. We created a language for storytelling. Other species also have language. They have language for communication of danger, for communication of mating calls or reproduction, and communication of food sources. But we are the only species that has a language that is such that it is capable of telling elaborate stories. Now, through the ages, these stories have taken different forms, but in a sense, they're all an elaboration of gossip. The first human stories were always about gossip and still are. That's why tabloids are so powerful. You know, who's doing what to whom, who's sleeping with whom, who can be trusted, who can't be trusted, who can't be given a task responsibly, etc., etc. So we've created stories, mythological stories, religious stories, cultural stories, theological stories, philosophical stories, scientific stories, mathematical stories, and on and on. So there's a reason why every spiritual tradition says first there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh. First there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh. And in this case, the expression flesh, I'm presuming, is referring to everything that is corporeal, that has a body, that is experienced as the construct that we human beings call physical objects of physical matter. So we are the quintessential storytellers that construct our experience of reality through words. And every word is entangled with every other word. All you have to do is look at a dictionary for the meaning of something, and then you're given another word to explain the meaning of the previous word. And sometimes you want to look up the meaning of the word that explains the previous word, and you find another word. So words are entangled stories. Any word, okay, any word. Let's take the word rock. The word rock is the story, the human story of atoms, particles, force fields, gravity, singularity, black hole, Big Bang, evolution, cosmic evolution, biological evolution, from minerals to plants to animals to humans, and our communication with each other right now. Just one word, the word rock, has the history of the whole universe. Just the word rock has the history of the whole universe. But you could also look at any other word, the word flower. Okay, the word flower is another history. It's the history of plants, leaves, trees, ecosystems, birds, bees, flora, fauna, sunshine, earth, water, rainbows, storms, weather patterns, migration of birds, and the whole play of life that we call the ecosystem of existence. One word, flower. But go deep within that word, go beyond the rainbows and sunshine and earth and water and wind and air, and then you enter the infinite void, and you tap into the infinite void, and there in that one word flower is the history of the universe. Okay, so every word embodies the history of the universe as humans have constructed it. Humans have constructed it through words. And the entanglement of words is actually the entanglement of existence as we experience it, as we humans experience it, not as mosquitoes experience it, or insects with hundreds of eyes, or bats, or lions, or tigers, or even dogs and cats, or butterflies. The world, the universe we experience, I've said many times, is a human construct, but the construct is woven through the entanglement of words. Words embody experience. And experience is the result of modes of knowing and perceptual activity in consciousness. So before the construction of the universe, there is consciousness, which is bubbling or modifying itself as qualia. Qualia, qualities of experience. The color red, the taste of wine, the appearance or the look of a banana, the scent of sandalwood. But even as I'm saying this, and I'm describing these words, what I'm really describing is modes of knowing and experience. The only experience we have is perceptual activity. That's it. And perceptual activity is colors, shapes, forms, sounds, textures, fragrances, and flavors, and our thoughts about them, our feelings about them, our emotions about them, and the images in our mind that we create about them. Okay, but raw experience is just awareness modifying itself as qualities of experience. Now, there are two kinds of experience. There's the perceptual experience, and that is what we see and hear and taste and smell and sense. But there's another experience, which is a deeper mode of knowing that actually is entangled with the perceptual experience. And that deeper mode of knowing is just the awareness of existence. That's it. The awareness of existence that is being experienced as qualities of experience, qualia. And then we give words to the confederation of qualia. And when you give words to the confederation of qualia, then you create an object. The experience becomes a physical object. It's a hand, it's a painting, it's an iPhone, it's an Android, it's a computer, it's a rainbow, it's a star, it's a galaxy, it's the sun, it's the moon, it's a physical body. But actually, when you go behind the word and its origins, every word that describes an object is actually the interpretation of a confederation of qualia. And these confederations of qualia encapsulated and given meaning become words, become perceptions, and become thoughts. Meaning. Because otherwise, what we call the physical world, from any perspective, is a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup. That's what a scientist might say. The world is a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup. Would be a scientific interpretation. Now, we can frame that in another way. Instead of calling it a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup, it's a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing qualia soup. And when we give meaning to the qualia soup, it becomes an object out there instead of an experience in here. In here means not in the head. In here means in non-local consciousness, which includes the head, the brain, the body, and the universe, all as a unified experience of qualia given meaning by humans who then, having imbued qualia soup with meaning, construct the notion of a physical universe, a physical body, and a physical brain. And of course, physical stars, galaxies, sun, moon, and everything else. Okay. Now, of course, over the years, I've been accused by critics of selling word salad. And I would say to you that the entire universe is made of word salad. I've also been accused of being a pseudoscientist, which means I say things that are not subject to experimental prediction. But that's also a form of metaphysics, pseudoscience, theoretical physics, mathematics, eternal inflation, cosmic inflation, superstring theories, multiverses, and infinite universes, and M theories are all human constructs that are mathematical. Some of them may one day lead to some kind of perceptual knowing, but it all begins with very faint modes of knowing given construction through language, and what is behind that is just a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum and qualia soup. So you and I and humans construct the universe, construct the notion of a body, construct the notion of a mind, construct the notion of a brain. Now, just knowing this is very empowering, that you are the constructor of what you call mind, body, and universe. You meaning us, you and I, the human species, as a species of consciousness, have constructed a human universe with all its flora, fauna, animals, ecosystems, earth, moon, stars, galaxies, trillions of universes, not trillions, trillions of planets, but I'm told 2 trillion galaxies and 700 sextillion stars and possibly infinite universes. All human constructs based on modes of knowing, mathematical knowing, which is a strange kind of knowing because mathematical knowing is not based on perceptual activity. Mathematical knowing is a peculiarly human knowing. Mathematics is a human construct in the same way as the universe is a human construct. So, we have constructed the universe. But now, knowing how we construct the universe, we also realize something which is actually very interesting. That words by nature create a dualistic experience of the world. Words by nature create a dualistic experience of the universe. So we say, this is a book, that is a painting, and this is me. this body-mind is me. That's a painting, that's a book, that's a hand. Okay, so now we have created separation. We have created the notion of separation from the idea of differentiation. Okay, differentiation is not separation, it's just the one appearing as many. Okay, so words by nature are dualistic. And that's why in the great spiritual traditions, including the Buddha's teaching and the Vedanta, words are powerful tools. Words structure reality. Words can be used to deconstruct reality, and words can be used to reconstruct reality. In fact, if you don't have a word for it, then it's not part of your reality. Okay, if you don't have a word for it, it's not part of your reality. And then, of course, we constantly invent new words, neologisms as they're called. One of the words, phrases today that's very popular when referring to young children is digital natives. Now, if you'd used this word even 20 years ago or 25 years ago, nobody would know what you're talking about. Digital native, what does that mean? Okay, so as we expand our awareness, expand our modes of knowing and experience, give words to them, then we create the objects of experience, including bodies, minds, other species, and the entire universe. So language is by nature dualistic, and therefore language by nature moves us away from fundamental reality, which is one. That's why Rumi, the great Sufi poet, said God's language is silence, everything else is poor translation. So yes, the world we experience is totally misleading, because perception itself is misleading, as I've said to you before. Perception tells us the earth is flat, the ground is stationary, and the world is made of objects which have their origin in a vacuum, which is the infinite void, etc., etc. So our modes of knowing and experience are shaped by the words we give to our experiences. And words by nature are dualistic. Now, there are words that move us from dualism to the direction of unity consciousness. And these words are words like love, like compassion, like joy, like equanimity, like peace, like transcendence, like truth, goodness, harmony, beauty, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. So that's why in the great wisdom traditions, words are also divine words refer to the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, who is the embodiment of culture and science and music and everything else that gives us joy, that moves us into the direction of unity consciousness. So yes, we are saying, I choose love. Now that is a phrase, a language, that moves you from duality to unity consciousness, which is enlightened awareness, okay? Enlightened awareness knows that every word describes the whole universe. Every word is shaped by context and meaning. What do I mean? If I say the bark of a tree or the bark of a dog, it's the same word, bark of a tree, bark of a dog, but you don't know what I mean till you get to the end of the sentence, right? So the entire sentence describes the meaning of the word bark in this case, but that word bark is actually also part of a context. The context in one way is a tree, a forest, an ecosystem. Bark of a dog is a sound. Okay, so now we see that words, context, meaning, and story are all entangled. We are the storytellers. So when we think of us as humans, I think the only thing we can say is to be human is to have a story. And then to be human is also to embed yourself in the story and ultimately call it reality. But actually, if you deconstruct the story, then you realize that reality is not the story, but what is the source of the story? And the source of the story is infinite consciousness. That's it. Infinity is the only reality, and infinite consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is a story. Some stories are convenient, and some stories can lead to our extinction. So we've created the stories of nuclear bombs and biological warfare and biohacking and internet hacking and hacking of democracies. And we've created this story that could easily lead to the extinction of the species that we call human, along with everything else that humans consider part of their story, which is every other species in the entire universe. So here we are at risking our extinction with a collective story that we have participated in creating. But once we deconstruct the story and go back to the infinite consciousness, which is the origin of all stories, all words, all constructs, all contexts, all imagination, and all experience, then we know that for every story there is an entanglement of infinite stories. And actually, when we disengage from identifying with the story, even though we can observe the story, then we are free to create infinite stories. And right now, the most important story we can create is a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world as a result of our collective transformation from human, the conditioned mind, to meta-human, the consciousness which is infinite and beyond the human mind. Meta-human is tapping into meta-reality, which is the origin and original source of infinite stories. Infinite stories, the structure, ultimately, infinite experiences, and how we label those experiences constructs our experience of that which we call physical reality. Physical reality is a human construct. It doesn't really exist. Knowing this is very important to find your true self, which is timeless, which is without cause, which is prior to all space-time, which is creating the experience of the theater of space-time and causality with biological organisms moving around, experiencing inanimate objects. But actually, it's all just you and me bubbling with qualia, imbuing qualia with meaning through words that encapsulate stories. So my friends, what's your story? Once again, what's the backstory? And if you go to the backstory, it's actually still an evolving story. The story hasn't even reached adolescence. It's a children's story. It doesn't matter if it's the story of the Big Bang or the story of creation in the book of Genesis. It doesn't matter. The story is infantile. It hasn't evolved. We have not evolved even to our adolescence, and in our frenzied immaturity, we are risking the extinction of the great gift that we call creation. So now we need to grow up, understand the power of words. Words are magical. They are the most magical thing in existence. And anytime we use words that move us from duality in the direction of unity, I say in the direction of unity, because they can't take you to unity. At some point at the event horizon of existence, words have to be abandoned. And then one has to rest in being, in just I am. And then choose the story. And then not only choose the story, become the producer, the executive producer, the director, the choreographer, the musical artist, the hero, and the villain of every story. Only this way can we revise what we call everyday reality and create as a stepping stone a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and joyful world. And then we go beyond that, a more universal story of ourselves beyond our ego identities as the ultimate storytellers, telling infinite stories and creating infinite universes, all as frequency domains of consciousness that we call lokas, locations in space-time, but actually our own stories. So that's where we are. Om Shanti. I think for as long as I am having the experience of this changing body-mind, I will keep revising at least what I call my stories, because they're all provisional. No story is absolute, except the absolute itself. Thank you.